Hello again, everyone. One final time for day 5 of our Flip Your February challenge. I hope it has been a fruitful week for you. I hope that some of the weight has been lifted from your shoulders, whatever the roadblocks are in your homeschool. And today is day 5, and I am very late getting you this video because I've recorded it and erased it and recorded it and erased it about a dozen times. And it finally occurred to me that it was going on in my head, the exact thing that we're doing to ourselves when we hit these kind of low points in our homeschool. It was the self-doubt, right? That's not right. It's not enough. Who am I to whatever? Um, and really, my goal was to be here to encourage you, to let you know that you're not alone in these moments when homeschooling doesn't feel like it's going the way you expected it to go, when it's not all joy. And it just feels hard. It's hard to get through the long, especially winter days when it's a little darker, a little colder, a little more isolated. Um, so I hope that this week that I've been able to do that, and that our speakers, and I know they have brought amazing, wonderful, practical, actionable tips for you to kind of get through final final recording, and I forgot to turn off my phone. Um, so we're just gonna let it be real here today because that was really my goal, again, in this week and in these exercises. A lot of times it is our self-doubt that really pushes us over the edge into that slump or into that low. Things go wrong in homeschool, and there are times in life when kids growing up, like their siblings just are having a rough time getting along. They're struggling with something that they're learning. For whatever reason, you're just off track. Life gets busy and hectic. Maybe you're taking care of an illness in the family. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's one of your kids. Maybe it's a parent or a sibling of yours that you're caring for. Whatever it is, things get in the way and things get hectic. And we have this expectation that we're supposed to be keeping up with the schools, keeping up with the other homeschoolers down the street, keeping up with those kids who've memorized the periodic table and all the Latin roots, right? Spoiler alert, not all homeschoolers do that, and it's okay. It's really okay. So, but when we start to struggle with one thing, to kind of put out the fire, we turn on ourselves a little bit, when something looming that starts to make us anxious, like the end of your test, or just kind of we're not where we expected to be at this season of school, we turn on ourselves and we tend to make the problem worse. We make the outcome that we're projecting worse than it ever would be in reality. So we start to think, I'm failing. And if we continue down this track, my kids are never going to XYZ, get into high school or get through high school or get into college or get a job or be successful as an adult. And we start projecting over this kind of small issue or this small time frame that isn't going right. We start to see all these catastrophic ends. And I see it time and again with parents that, come into the center or come for advising that just when things aren't going as swimmingly as they see other people seeming to do it, right? Because we know we never really get a look under the hood of somebody else's life or homeschool or what have you. That it's just completely off the rails and it's never getting back on track. So in reality, yeah, oftentimes there's a practical issue. There's something, in reality that's not going quite right. Maybe it's a child struggling with a specific subject. Maybe it's your attention is diverted from the homeschooling for a particular reason. Maybe it's the siblings not getting along. Maybe it's not finding your community yet. Something practical is probably not perfect right now, right? It's not all perfect for anybody at any time. So what we need to do is separate those practical things, the things that we can fix, from the feeling that it's us causing it and that we are doing something wrong. Because really, left to their own devices, kids can learn so much. And by modeling just life and adulthood and how we are trying to get our homeschools back on track, we're modeling learning, we're modeling, problem solving for our kids. And these are skills that you can learn in a variety of ways. I mean, schools have ways of teaching these things, but when you see them modeled in life, your kids are going to be able to kind of follow in that. So they are learning something, they're growing, and they're developing. And the relationship, as long as you try to stay connected to your kids through all of this, through the ups and downs, they're going to grow into the people that they're meant to be. And you're, like I said earlier in the week, you're kind of providing the bumpers, and they're headed down this lane toward the pins, and that's where the momentum is taking them, towards adulthood, whether we like it or not. As much as we want to slow down time, I certainly do these days, we need to keep them on track, but let them roll. Right. So we want to fix the practical things. And our speakers this week had amazing ways of, kind of getting out of a rut that's holding us back practically. So whether it's the curriculum that's not a good fit, or your kids' interests aren't being fed, or your scheduling is kind of wonky and something's not going right, or you need a little more self-care, or your kids need to be in touch with their feelings, or you need to adjust what you lean into this season of life. Those are all real practical tips. And on the other end of that, we need to separate the I caused this, I'm failing at it, I'm not enough, and turn that into a positive mantra. So focus forward for day 5 is all about looking forward with a positive outlook, giving ourselves grace to move forward past, to put the difficult times in the past as best we can. There may be things, of course, we're still dealing with, but to move forward from them and not allow ourselves to be stuck in whatever it was that was going wrong. So there are still things that we can move forward on. So a couple of the practical ways that I would recommend for you to do this is, goal setting. There's a bonus goal setting workshop that's coming out this weekend for those who got the all access pass. And goal setting is so important. If we don't set goals that make sense to homeschooling, then we're setting out to fail. Because if we're going to compare ourselves to classrooms and to academic standards of a completely different educational paradigm, we're going to fall short. Or we're going to have leaps and bounds above them, and it's not meaningful. So we want goals that are meaningful for our homeschool. So I challenge you to put a non-academic goal in writing. So whether it's spending quality time with each of your kids, making sure that each of them have their interests fed, maybe it's once a week, maybe it's once a month, but you're spending at least an hour kind of feeding whatever their interest is, whatever their talents are, something like that, whether it's a particular character trait you want to focus on, or a particular value for your family that you want to focus on, something like that. Put it in writing. And then every week, every 2 weeks, check in with that value or that goal and say, how are we making progress? How have I seen this demonstrated? What have I done to kind of move us toward that? Um, it's often a more heart connected. Amanda on Monday talked about, you know, um, fixing our heart issues when it comes to how we put our heart into homeschooling. So this is a heart connected issue that can oftentimes, if we want our kids to value family relationships and family bonds, then spending time as a family. And if I didn't do that this week, if I look at that goal and I say, wow, I didn't measure up, that's a heartwarming thing to be able to fix. And it's something that we can look inside ourselves to do. We don't have to, take a lot of outside. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It doesn't, those values kind of things are the kinds of things that we can fix, that we can keep track of, that we're going to see those little sparks of in our kids that are just going to light us up. And we're going to see them light up, and they're just beautiful things. So get one of those things to kind of focus on as you move forward. Get something that's non-academic, not about pages or hours in the day or whatever, that you're really kind of working on. Along with that, in order to kind of keep track of how those things are going, keep a gratitude or a good things that happened today kind of journal. Long ago, I gave up planning ahead because number one, I'm a terrible planner. And number two, life just got in the way too much of my academic plans and of our homeschooling plans. So I would get those um, planners at the dollar spot at Target at the beginning of the year, and I write all my lesson plans, and then by week 3, there was so much crossed out and moved around that the rest of it was pretty much useless. So I pretty much gave up at that point, and I would plan kind of a broad view about a month, maybe 2 months at a time, just so that I knew I had the materials and kind of had enough stuff to keep us moving forward. And then I started to journal, and I would journal what my kids did so that I could remember where we were. I could remember what we did, if we had an extended break or we had a spontaneous field trip, we weren't erasing and crossing out and trying to get back on track. So, but in that, I started to really pay attention to and look for those qualities I was trying to develop in my kids, in our family, that were really special and important to us. And I think by looking for them, it even strengthened our relationships and made me see the positive side. So even when my kids were in those periods when they were just driving me crazy, and I used to say it happened every 6 months, and they were on completely opposite 6-month schedules. So I felt like I never got a break. But even in those periods when they were driving me crazy, I was looking for those little things towards those goals that we had, and having kids who persevered and spoke with kindness and helped one another and had a desire to learn, those kind of things that were kind of hard to measure and put your finger on. So I had to look for them in the day, and I would write those down. And just the act of doing that helped me feel so much more positive about our homeschool. And it really helped me treasure that time with my kids. So I encourage you to do that, whether you call it a gratitude journal or the good things that happened or progress towards your goals, whatever it is. Try journaling instead of, beating ourselves up for not following the lesson plans. And then, just move forward knowing that you are enough. Your kid's curiosity is enough. And learning can look different than we expect. We have this mindset that education and brick and mortar schools are inextricably linked, and that education goes with curriculum. And it doesn't at all. Education and learning can sometimes be two different things. And learning comes in all forms, at all times. So, answer their questions, feed their learning, put things in front of them, give them books, listen to good things together, appreciate art, all those beautiful things, all those wonderful educational philosophies. They all seem to have those kind of things in common, right? Whether you're an unschooler and it's strewing, or you're Charlotte Mason and you're out observing nature and appreciating the beautiful things, or, Montessori style and you're giving kids meaningful, practical work, um, and having them participate in daily life. All of those things, um, they all have something in common in that, we're looking for the learning in just these moments of life. So as we've put our focus forward, we put the slump behind us and we move forward with the knowing that we are enough, and what we can give our kids in our presence, um, and our attention and our perseverance, in seeking out the best education for them is enough. And it's going to move us forward to a meaningful and successful homeschool journey. So I hope this has helped. I hope this has been some encouragement. And I promise I'm not going to delete this one and redo it and think too much about what I've said or haven't said or how it sounded, because I just want you to know that I believe in you. You've sought out this kind of support and this kind of information, so it means you're doing it right. Um, you know, yeah, I think we don't give ourselves enough credit, right? We're trying to solve the problems in our homeschools, and that's what we need to teach our kids to do in learning, in life, and you're modeling that for them. So exhale, mama, you got this, okay? And please, please reach out, stay connected, get yourself some support. And if you can't find any locally, then please reach out. I would love to help you and stay in touch. So I hope this week has been helpful. And thank you so much for listening and for participating. And take care and happy homeschooling.